Today, we're jumping into one of the most powerful and, honestly, cautionary tales from the Quran, the story of the people of Thamud. Now, this is a story about a civilization that could literally carve entire cities out of mountains, a people who got so powerful and then just vanished in a single moment. So let's get into what happened. Picture this. It's just before dawn. There's no wind, no warning, and then the entire valley of Hijr is just rocked by this deafening, agonizing roar. The ground itself is shaking, but this isn't an earthquake. This is something else entirely. So you have to ask yourself, how does a civilization so advanced, so powerful they could command the very stone around them, get completely wiped out in a flash? How does that even happen? Well, that's the big question we're unpacking right now. But, to really get why they fell so hard, you have to see just how high they climbed. The people of Thamud weren't just some random tribe. No, they were a nation that was born from survival. And they became some of the most incredible builders the ancient world has ever seen. So their story actually kicks off with a small group of believers, survivors who were saved with the prophethood. After a really tough journey, they stumble upon this perfect spot, a lush, green valley they called Wadi al-Hijr. And there, they were just blessed. They grew strong, they grew wealthy, their numbers exploded. And when we say strong, we really mean it. God gave them this incredible, almost supernatural gift, a genius for carving and shaping stone like nobody had ever seen before. And they weren't just building simple little huts. Oh no, they were putting up these magnificent, sprawling palaces right out on the open plains, basically showing off their wealth and power to the world. But here's the part that is just absolutely mind-blowing. And you can still see the ruins of this today at Prophet Saleh. They carved entire detailed homes right into the sides of mountains. They literally bent the landscape to their will. It's just incredible. But with all that amazing power came this massive ego. They looked at everything they'd built, at their grand cities, and they started saying, "We did this. Our own strength, our own smarts built this entire empire." They totally forgot who gave them those gifts in the first place. And that right there, that was their fatal flaw. So right into this climate of pride and forgetting, God sends a messenger, a prophet from their own people named Saleh. And his mission was actually pretty simple. Just call them back. Remind them to be grateful. And this is where you really see the two sides clash. Prophet Saleh's message was straightforward. Hey, let's get back to worshiping the one God. Let's be thankful for everything we have. But the leaders, they heard an attack on their traditions, on their authority, and they shot back, "Look, Saleh, we used to think you were a smart guy, but now you're telling us to throw away everything our ancestors believed? No way, we're not doing that." So they got cocky. They laid down a challenge, thinking there was no way he could pull it off. They didn't just ask for any old sign. No, they pointed to a specific, solid, dead piece of rock and said, "All right, if you're for real, make a pregnant she-camel walk out of this rock, then we'll believe you." They were so sure they had him backed into a corner. They had demanded the impossible. What they didn't know was that they were about to witness something so incredible, it would leave absolutely no room for doubt. So Prophet Saleh just accepts their challenge and he prays, and then it happens. The exact rock they pointed to starts to tremble. It cracks open with this blinding flash of light, and right from the heart of that solid stone, a huge, living, breathing she-camel walks out, right in front of them. The impossible just happened. Now, it's super important to get this. This was not just some random camel. The Quran calls her Naqat Allah, the She-Camel of God. Think of her as a living, walking miracle, sent for two reasons. One, as a clear sign of God's power, and two, as a direct test for them. The test came with a simple rule about their main well. One day, only the she-camel could drink from it. The next day, only the people could drink. Now, that might seem like a bit of a hassle, right? But get this. In return for that one day of patience, the camel produced so much milk, it was enough for every single man, woman, and child in the entire nation. It was a test, yeah, but it was also a massive blessing. You would think a miracle of that scale would be enough to convince anyone, but for the arrogant leaders of Thamud, this camel was this constant, living reminder that there was a power greater than theirs, and their pride, it just couldn't handle that. So as some of the regular folks started to believe in Prophet Saleh, the leaders got jealous and, honestly, scared. This miracle was making Saleh more influential and it was challenging their power. They decided the miracle, the sign of God itself, had to be destroyed. A plot was hatched. One powerful woman even offered her own daughters in marriage to whoever would do the deed. So a group of 9 guys, they ambushed the she-camel on her way back from the well. They shot her with an arrow, and then they all jumped on her and slaughtered her. They killed God's sign right there in the open. And the worst part? The rest of the people cheered them on. They celebrated it like it was some great victory. When Prophet Saleh saw what they had done, he was heartbroken, and he gave them one final bone-chilling warning. Enjoy what you have in your homes for 3 days. This is a promise that will not be broken. The countdown had officially begun. And man, what a terrifying countdown it was. On the first day, everyone's faces turned this sickly, jaundiced yellow. On day 2, they all turned a frightening red, like the sky was bleeding. And on the third and final day, their faces turned pitch black, and the air just felt thick with death. They knew their time was up. And then, on the morning of the 4th day, it came. It wasn't an army or a flood or a firestorm. It was just one single, terrifying scream from the heavens. A sound so powerful it ripped their souls from their bodies. And in that one instant, the entire civilization of Thamud was gone, left silent in their beautiful stone houses. As Prophet Saleh and the few believers who were saved with him looked out over the wreckage of their city, he spoke these final sad words, and it really sums up the whole tragedy, doesn't it? I tried to warn you, but you just don't like listening to good advice. And that leaves us with a pretty big final thought. The story of Thamud is this stark reminder that it doesn't matter how advanced or strong or brilliant a civilization is. Its real strength isn't in stone palaces. It's in things like humility, gratitude, and just being willing to pay attention to the signs.
Thanks for watching.